You know you're getting old when you start talking shit about the younger generation. Something I really try hard not to do, as far as reflecting the things that happened in our life, or my life, on today's generation and saying, when I was a kid. Of course, it still happens. It's usually due to, seeing that sometimes people don't realize what they have. It's just like when my parents looked back and said, hey, when I was a kid, we played kick the can. We didn't have computers. I say, yeah, but now we do. Isn't there more to gain from computers and learning than there is from kick the can? But from the perspective of someone who lived in that era, that's the norm. That's what's normal. And every generation moves forward with new ideas and new things. And we all get caught up in these little timelines of life, I guess, depending on your age, when you were born, the type of people you hang out with. For example, Twitter to me is just garbage. I have never even used Twitter, and I never will use Twitter. I guess I shouldn't say I never will, but it seems to be such a self-absorbed, idea. And I feel the same way about Facebook. I joined Facebook, 5, 6 years ago. And I was on there for about a year or two. And then I started to realize that all people wanted to do was talk about themselves. Look at what I have, and look at what I've done, and look at what I'm eating for dinner. And I realized the things that I say aren't any more important than the next guy. They're just things that are important to me. But I have limits to what I will post. I'm not going to go, post a picture of my meal. But on the other hand, I have been known to do that. Or, look at, this is what I'm drinking, or this is what I'm doing. But I left Facebook for about a year and a half, and then came back to it after a year because some of my friends had been looking for me. And they said, they were trying to get a hold of you on Facebook. So I signed back in, and then I closed my account again. And I opened it up about 2 weeks ago, again, to, I can't remember, to get a hold of somebody or to contact somebody I hadn't talked to in a long time. And it was the same old crap, just another. It's just the way it is. And what I'm saying is this is just what people do now. We talk about crap. But at the same time, there's a lot of important stuff on there. You just have to wade through the crap to get to it. And who am I to say what's crap and what's not? I mean, maybe image is important. Maybe being, being noticed is important. I don't know. I've found that in my life, I don't have any real room for to prove anything, I guess, or to show anything. Like, I know who I am, and I'm grateful to know that I do have a good outlook on life and on myself, but it's not something that I was just given. It's something I developed by working through the problems I have in life, but also by realizing that most of the things that I believe to be true or may, be involved in are things that are that impacted me because of when I was born and the era that I lived in. For example, I think about bands like Poison and Rat, Quiet Riot. That's awesome music to me. Today's generation, let's say the kids that are in their 20s, there are some that I've heard say, I can't believe people listen to that garbage, and there are some will say, I wish I would have been alive in the 80s when this awesome music existed. And I laugh when I hear people say that because it reminds me of when I was about 16, and I actually cried one time, say, I should have been born in the 60s. And I got really emotional thinking that I was born in the wrong era, the wrong time, because of what I pictured the 60s to be like, free love and, all these people out there talking about what's important, and then I realized, of course, that's just one little segment of society. The rest of society was still just in their bubble from the 50s, the American dream, the white picket fence. In other words, today I'm so much more grateful to be born in the time I am, or that I was. Like, there is no time I'd rather be alive than right now at the age I am, because I'm seeing the tipping point, the turning points of life of this world, the big changes that change who we are from an adult perspective, yet not being too old, so I'm still stuck on my ways. And I think by being aware of that, we can start to realize that it's not just about like things changing, nor is it about things hanging on to the old ways. In other words, like let's take conservatives for example. Now, what is a conservative? A conservative is a person who wants to keep things the way they are. That's the definition of conservative. A liberal is someone who wants to change things to give people, liberal rights and whatnot. The very basic notion of that means that conservatives are really attached to their system because it works for them, whereas many liberals realize the system doesn't work for everyone, so they want to change it. So being stuck in a particular way of thinking is not healthy, but it's almost a fear of getting away from what we know. It's really hard for humans to jump and do something different. But to me, looking back on computers and how much it's changed since the first time I got on the internet with a dial-up modem, I'm just, utterly blown away. But I don't want to ever get to the point where I say, kids today and their computers, because I know that in 10 years from now, they're going to have all kinds of crazy devices, maybe 20 years from now, maybe, if the world doesn't collapse. And I'll be looking at those things, making a decision to whether to utilize them in my life or to just fight against it. Say, back in my day. So, back in my day doesn't work anymore because we're not back in anybody's day. We're here now. And the image we have of what yesterday looked like is so flawed and skewed. And this is a major point for me to mention, is that we can't even look back on the 20s or the 30s or the 40s and really know what was going on. We get glimpses of a war, glimpses of a certain style of dress, movies came out, electricity, but that doesn't tell us anything about the actual society that lived at that time. And unless you lived in that time, you'll never know. So take that back more than 100 years, take it back 1,000 years, take it back 2,000 years. And here are all these people trying to tell us how the Aztecs and the Mayans lived, or how the ancient Sumerians lived, for example. We get a few carvings and, some papyrus or whatnot, and start to piece together these ideas of what we think it was like, And to a degree, we're right in a lot of it because, they've written it down, but in a lot of circumstance, we're just making stuff up. It's just an interesting concept to me. The only reality that I really know is the one that I'm living right now. And even looking back on myself when I was 18, 15, I don't even remember what it was really like, just glimpses and pieces. And that's how I feel history is. Here we are now, right? Embrace it or don't. That's life. Peace.